You've heard of T-Rex. You've seen Spinosaurus steal the spotlight. But there's one dino that's been quietly lurking in the shadows, fishing in ancient rivers, rocking a killer claw, and changing everything we thought we knew about dinosaur evolution. Meet Baryonyx, part predator, part fisherman, full-time badass. But here's the thing. Most videos just skim the surface. In this one, we're going way deeper. We're talking prehistoric swamps, evolutionary secrets, and the wild theory of why Baryonyx never needed to grow into a monster like Spinosaurus. By the end of this video, you'll not only know where Baryonyx lived and hunted, but where it could be living if it were alive today. Trust me, you've never seen this dino like this before. So grab your virtual boots. We're heading into the floodplains of the Early Cretaceous, and things are about to get wet, wild, and wickedly awesome. Let's dive in. Rewinding the clock, 125 million years ago, during the Early Cretaceous period, something seriously different was prowling the floodplains of what we now call England and Western Europe. Not a landlocked monster, not a skyscraping herbivore, but a slick, semi-aquatic predator with one of the coolest names in the game, Baryonyx. Now, at first glance, that name might sound like a tongue twister from a sci-fi movie. But here's a fun way to remember it. Just break it into two parts, Bary and Yonex. Yep, Bary like Barry Allen, The Flash, and Yonex like the badminton brand. Put it together and boom, Baryonyx. Kinda sounds like a superhero who also plays badminton on weekends. But in reality, it means heavy claw. And trust me, this dino definitely lived up to that name. Baryonyx wasn't a towering titan like the Spinosaurus, but it was no lightweight either. Measuring around 7.5 to 10 meters long and weighing up to 1.7 tons, this was a predator built for precision, not just brute strength. It had a narrow, low-slung body and a strong, muscular tail, perfect for swimming. Let's talk about what made Baryonyx stand out. First up, that snout. Long, narrow, and shaped a lot like a crocodile's. It was packed with 96 conical teeth, designed not for tearing meat, but for gripping slippery fish. These teeth weren't serrated like most meat eaters. They were smooth, curved, and tightly packed. Basically, nature's fish trap. Then, the star of the show, the claw. Each hand had a massive curved claw on its first finger, over 30 centimeters long. That's the size of a school ruler. It probably used it to hook fish right out of the water or slash struggling prey. A deadly tool for a river-hunting predator. Now here's a small detail with big meaning. Its nostrils. Unlike most theropods, Baryonyx's nostrils weren't at the tip of the snout. They were higher up, like in crocodiles. That meant it could breathe while mostly submerged. And that one feature? It helped confirm Baryonyx as the first semi-aquatic carnivorous dinosaur ever discovered. Baryonyx was primarily a piscivore, meaning fish made up most of its diet. And we're not just guessing here. This was confirmed when paleontologists found acid-etched fish scales inside its stomach. The fish in question, an ancient, heavily armored species called lepidotes. So yeah, this dino was caught mid-sushi. But that wasn't all. They also found bones of a juvenile iguanodon in its gut, proof that Baryonyx didn't mind snacking on land-based prey when the opportunity came up. Whether it actively hunted or just scavenged the carcass is unclear, but it tells us one thing. This dinosaur wasn't picky when hungry. That said, Baryonyx didn't thrive on land-based hunting, and there are two key reasons why. One, competition. The Early Cretaceous was no peaceful picnic. Baryonyx shared its habitat with apex predators like the Neovenator, a robust, muscular theropod built for land dominance. Baryonyx, with its slender build and low-slung frame, just wasn't made for going toe-to-toe with land kings like that. It would have been seriously outmatched in strength and agility on solid ground. 2. Anatomy. Baryonyx's weaponry was specialized. Its conical, non-serrated teeth were designed to grip and hold, not to tear through flesh. And while that massive first finger claw was impressive, it was curved more like a fishing hook than a combat blade. On land, that combo didn't offer much advantage against bulky herbivores with armor-like skin and powerful defensive kicks. It just wasn't built to overpower them. So instead, Baryonyx leaned into its strengths, prowling shallow waters, swiping fish with precision, and staying clear of land brawls. It wasn't about being the toughest, it was about playing smart. And for a time, it worked. Of course, that survival strategy came with its own risks. But more on that later. Now let's zoom out a bit. Baryonyx didn't show up out of nowhere. It came from a pretty exclusive family in the dinosaur world, the Spinosauridae. Spinosaurids were a strange and fascinating bunch of theropods. Unlike your classic meat-eaters like Allosaurus or Tyrannosaurus, these guys specialized in aquatic or semi-aquatic life. Long, narrow snouts filled with conical teeth, high nostrils for breathing while submerged. Yeah, these weren't your average dino predators. But how did dinosaurs like Spinosaurus in North Africa, Suchomimus in Niger, Irritator in Brazil, and Baryonyx in England all end up so similar despite being found on completely different continents? Was it just a coincidence that dinosaurs so far from each other developed the same fishing toolkit and snout design, or is there more to it? It all starts in the late Jurassic, when their ancestors from the Megalosauridae superfamily began branching off. This was a time when the world looked completely different. Instead of the continents we know today, Earth was split into two massive supercontinents, Gondwana in the south and Laurasia in the north. Now here's where it gets interesting. You'll find Spinosaurids in Europe, Africa, and even South America. So how did similar dinosaurs end up scattered across such distant lands? Answer: they weren't distant back then. Back in the Jurassic Cretaceous transition, Africa and South America were literally connected in Gondwana, and Europe wasn't that far off either in Laurasia. It's believed that the common ancestor of all Spinosaurids was already spreading across these regions before the continents fully split apart. Once those land masses drifted, the dinosaurs got isolated in different environments, and that's when evolution took over. Each species adapted uniquely to its surroundings. Each of them tells a different chapter in the same evolutionary story. And Baryonyx chapter just happens to be the one that helped science. But here's the question: why did Spinosaurus become a river monster while Baryonyx stayed lean and sleek? The answer lies in environmental pressure and competition. Spinosaurus lived in North Africa, where the ecosystem was stacked with predators. One of its biggest rivals was Carcharodontosaurus, a massive land carnivore that wouldn't hesitate to throw down. In this high-stakes arena, Spinosaurus had no choice but to grow bigger. It couldn't avoid competition. Carcharodontosaurus hunted on land, Spino hunted in water, but the boundaries overlapped. To survive and dominate its aquatic turf, evolving in size wasn't optional. It was essential. Now flip the map to Europe. Baryonyx lived in what's now England, where the apex land predator was Neovenator, a bulky, fully terrestrial hunter. But unlike Spinosaurus, Baryonyx had the luxury of choice. Instead of entering a doomed rivalry on land, it sidestepped the battlefield entirely. Why wrestle with a land tank like Neovenator when you can have the rivers all to yourself. So, rather than scaling up or bulking out, Baryonyx went niche. So yeah, between its physical design and the presence of bigger, badder neighbors, Baryonyx wasn't built to rule the land. But in the rivers, that was its kingdom. But here's the thing, that river kingdom, it doesn't exist anymore. Not in the same place, anyway. 125 million years ago, England wasn't the cool, misty countryside we know today. Back then, thanks to tectonic shifts, it sat much closer to the equator. The climate was hot, humid, and swampy, filled with slow-moving rivers, muddy floodplains, and thriving fish populations. Exactly the kind of environment a semi-aquatic predator like Baryonyx needed to survive. Fast forward to now, and tectonic drift has pulled Europe far to the north. That lush, watery paradise is long gone, replaced by cooler forests, drier lands, and ecosystems that simply don't fit Baryonyx's lifestyle. So, where could it live today if it somehow returned? We'd need to find places that mirror the ancient wetlands of early Cretaceous England. Think warm, humid, fish-filled rivers and swamps. Here are a few modern contenders. 1. The Amazon Basin, South America. With its steamy climate, meandering rivers, and seasonal floods, the Amazon is basically a prehistoric throwback, teeming with fish and perfect for an ambush predator like Baryonyx. 2. The Congo River Basin, Central Africa dark, deep and full of aquatic life. The Congo's swampy landscape could easily have been pulled from the Early Cretaceous playbook. 3. The Mekong Delta, Southeast Asia. A vast network of slow-moving rivers and wetlands, the Mekong is rich in fish and remains flooded for months. A perfect fit for this ancient river hunter. These places are what England might have been 125 million years ago. So no, Baryonyx wouldn't be prowling around London or stomping through Yorkshire. It'd be lurking in the muddy waters of the Amazon or slipping through the reeds of the Mekong, ruling over a different kind of kingdom, but a kingdom nonetheless. Unlike the dinosaurs that were wiped out in a single apocalyptic event, Baryonyx's extinction wasn't sudden. It was a slow burn, a silent struggle stretched across millions of years. During the early Cretaceous, Europe's landscape began to shift. Sea levels rose and fell over and over again, flooding lakes and swamps, then drying them out. These changes weren't just inconvenient, they were devastating to a creature whose entire life revolved around rivers. As the continents kept drifting and tectonic plates moved like puzzle pieces, river systems changed direction, ecosystems shifted, and the fish-rich habitats that Baryonyx depended on began to disappear. Suddenly, this apex fisher found itself caught in an evolutionary trap. It wasn't terrestrial enough to compete with new agile predators like Neovenator, who could chase prey across open land. And with fewer fish in the rivers, even its strongest hunting skills weren't enough. It didn't adapt fast enough. Whether it was outcompeted, starved, or left behind by the very world it once ruled, Baryonyx eventually vanished. Some scientists think it may have evolved, moved to a more stable environment, and adapted into a new species, one we haven't discovered yet. But as of now, its story ends in silence. No fiery impact, no grand finale, just a once mighty river hunter, quietly fading into the fossil record. But even in silence, it left behind a story, and that's what I'm here to tell. This channel is brand new, and I'm just getting started, so your support means the world. Every like you drop makes me 10 times more motivated. The more love you show, the deeper we'll dive into stories like this. So, if you enjoyed this journey through time, consider subscribing. There's so much more coming.